The Lost World, Jurassic Park, released in 1997 as a sequel to the original film from 1992. Why it was called The Lost World Jurassic Park and not Jurassic Park The Lost World, I don't know. I guess we'll kind of see it like Rogue One was. This is Rogue One, it's part of the Star Wars saga. But anyway, this was a film that people generally regarded as not as good as the first one and a bad film. But honestly, I'm with Chris Stuckman on this. He said in his review of it that he didn't actually think it was as bad as people made out to be, and that he watched it through and he still didn't get why people made it out to be so bad. And honestly, I'm on the same page. I mean, true, this is my first time watching it through, and I is it as good as the first film? No, but you could hardly recreate the iconic first moment when they see dinosaurs for the first time. You can never really entirely recapture that magic, but at the same time, I think this was a decent film. And plus, it had a load of actors in it, and even one that I wasn't even aware that was part of the Jurassic Park franchise that I thought was kind of cool. I mean, I knew the likes of Richard Attenborough was back briefly. I know that Jeff Goldblum was coming back. I even knew Julianne Moore was in the film. Did not know Vince Vaughn was in the film. Like, I remember his character Nick Van Owen showed up on screen. And I was just like, "Is that Vince Vaughn?" And just I'm thinking, okay, okay, swingers, dodgeball, delivery man. That Vince Vaughn. I'm just like thinking, wow, cool. So anyway, the plot this time around, for those who need a brief reminder, is that Dr. John Hammond, played by Richard Attenborough, invites Ian Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum, back to his house to discuss an important matter. He tells Ian that uh, while the animals, or while the dinosaurs were shown off on Isla Nublar, the actual development floor where they created most of the dinosaurs or engineered them was on the island of Isla Sorna. And basically, he wants to send a team in along with Malcolm in order to catalogue the animals, make sure they're all doing okay, and make sure that they can find suitable places for them. Now, Ian Malcolm is hesitant to return to the island, as of course, but when he's told that one member of the team who's already gone there is Dr. Sarah Harding, played by Julianne Moore, who is I believe, an ex-girlfriend of his, he decides to play along with it and agrees to go there. The team consists of mainly four people, although there are a lot more, that include Dr. Ian Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum, Dr. Sarah Harding, played by Julianne Moore, Eddie Carr, a field equipment expert, played by Richard Skiff, and Nick Van Owen, played by Vince Vaughn, who's a documentarian, a photojournalist, and an environmentalist. However, they also discover some problems along the way, including that Malcolm's daughter, Kelly Curtis, played by Vanessa Lee Chester, has snuck aboard. She mainly wants to just spend some time with her dad and get to know him better, but he's usually just trying to keep her out of trouble. Although, yeah, with Jurassic Park, you can pretty much guarantee that's not going to happen. But they also discover more problems in that the villain of the film is a guy named Peter Ludlow, played by Arliss Howard, and he is John Hammond's nephew, and he is the kind of character in films, the kind of villain who said, "My uncle had a good idea, but he didn't think it through. He didn't think big picture." Basically, he wants to use an idea that Hammond had previously abandoned and set up a new Jurassic Park attraction in San Diego. And basically wants to take the dinosaurs from there and move them to San Diego, even though that's probably a bad idea. So and he's assisted by a load of people, including a hunter named Roland Tembo, played by Pete Postlethwaite. So it's basically a race for Ian, Sarah, Eddie, Nick, and Kelly in order to save the dinosaurs, get them away from humanity, and ultimately stop Ludlow. Now, people said this wasn't as good a film as the first one, and yeah, I can kind of see that. I can see that it's not as good as the first one, but when they say it's a bad film, I'm like, I don't know about that. I only really have two problems with the film. once again, most of my knowledge for this film comes from playing through the Lego Jurassic World game, and I felt that the game did a good job at recreating it. The only two things that I think might be a little not as okay for me are one. I think some of the scene from playing the game, I thought some of the scenes didn't quite line up. I thought they'd spend a lot more time in it. For example, one of the levels in the Lego Jurassic World game in the Lost World section is the long grass, to which you spend a lot of time in the long grass avoiding the dinosaurs. Whereas in the film, it's only really about 3 minutes, stuff like that. I mean, they're only in the long grass for a very short period of time. There were shots and sections that I did recognise from the game, and I thought, okay, well, the game is based on the film. I can see why this is here. I can see how this works. I mean, even Julianne Moore's section of shoving tiles off a roof to get rid of a velociraptor, that was in the game. And I thought, oh, cool. But then again, the long grass, I thought they'd spend more time in there. But anyway. And the other minor problem I have with it is that there were a few moments in the film where I thought they could have injected a little bit more humour. For example, there's a scene where the Tyrannosaurus Rex is stomping around San Diego, and it ends up in somebody's backyard, or their back garden, and a kid gets woken up. He sees the dinosaur in the back garden, so he goes to wake up his parents. He says to his parents, "There's a dinosaur in our backyard," and they're just waking up like, "Oh, God. I mean, I told you to deal with this." And they're like, "Oh, God. But we're going to go to the window, we're going to see there's nothing there, we're going to tell this to him, and then we're going to go back to bed." And they see it, and they scream. To which I'm left thinking, okay, yeah, scream does seem like the more appropriate reaction, but I feel like they could have had a little bit more comedy in it. Like, in my head, the two that pass through are either that the parents say to the child, "There's not a dinosaur in our backyard." They come to the window, see it, and go, "There's a dinosaur in our backyard. Told you." Or the other one that I feel could have injected comedy into the situation is the child tells them, "There's a dinosaur in our backyard," and they're telling him there's not a dinosaur in our backyard. They go to the window, they see the dinosaur in their backyard, and then possibly the father's like, "I'm going to take off work tomorrow." I don't blame you. I feel like they could have injected just a little bit more comedy into it in order to make it good. But aside from that, I think the film's fine. I mean, as I said, it's never going to quite recapture the magic that the first film had, but it does have some great moments. I mean, the chase through San Diego to get the child Tyrannosaurus Rex back to its parent, that's a pretty good scene. And even the villain, played by Arliss Howard, I feel like he does have a suitable comeuppance. They managed to get the Tyrannosaurus Rex back to the ship. They hide it in the ship. He goes in to try and retrieve it, going, "No, it's my prize," and then gets eaten by the Tyrannosaurus Rex. I personally think that's a great comeuppance for him. The only other thing that I would maybe say against it is I felt they could have given more to Richard Skiff's character of Eddie Carr. I mean, he gets killed halfway through the film, and that's mainly just to set up Ian, Sarah, Nick, and Kelly now having to reluctantly work with the bad guys in order to get home. But I feel like they could have given a bit more to him. But overall, I'd say The Lost World, it's not as bad as people made it out to be. I mean, I'm sure when I get to Jurassic Park 3, that's going to have a lot more problems with it. But on the whole, I'd say if you want to watch The Lost World Jurassic Park, I'd say go ahead. It's not as bad as people made it out to be, and I think it's a pretty good film. As I said, not as good as the first one, but you know what? It's still pretty good. There you go. There's my quick thoughts on The Lost World Jurassic Park. Anyway, next up I've got 2 more Classic Doctor Who reviews coming up, so I'll see you when I get there. Anyway, until then, adios.